call the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Chairman, Labor supports the New Zealand Superannuation and Retirement Income Amendment Bill. Sir, this is one of those little bills which makes a fairly minor change. It provides for the guardians of the super fund to be able to be exempted liability as they take on the management of passive or active investment vehicles, and it complements the portfolio investment approach so successfully undertaken by the fund to date. This bill, sir, does throw us back, however, on the why, the what and the how of the New Zealand Superannuation Fund. Now, it's commonly accepted by members across the House. This was an initiative of the previous Labor government, the then Finance Minister, Dr Michael Cullen. It has been, in anybody's book, a spectacular success, sir. A spectacular success. Recent returns averaging around 20% per annum. Unbelievable for a fund of that size. Average return since inception, 10.3%. Cost of Crown capital, round about 4%. So this is an extraordinary win for every New Zealander, because it means that we will be paying less in our taxes to support Kiwis in their retirement because of the prudent investments, the spectacular investments that have been made in this fund. What did National do? National stopped contributing. National is such a party of short-sightedness that when times got at all tough, they stole from the future to bail themselves out in the present. And independent advice confirms that that bad decision has cost New Zealand taxpayers, wait for it, over $10 billion in lost profit. $10 billion. I'm taking the conservative numbers, the bottom end of the range, at least $10 billion. So here's the question, members. Members across the House, can any member tell me a single worse financial decision in the history of New Zealand government? Can anybody tell me a decision by a Minister of Finance that's cost more? Okay, I agree with you. Actually, my two colleagues, you topped this one, and it was Rob Muldoon. This is the worst decision since Rob Muldoon killed the last great superannuation scheme. Now, fortunately, National didn't quite kill this one. They just stunned it. But that stun gun cost $10 billion, and here we are back now trying to get this back on its feet. Now, we agree with this limited bill. It simply provides for the independent guardians of the fund to have a little more liability protection to cover a slightly broader range of passive and potentially active investment vehicles. Reasonably unexceptional, provided that the structure of governance of the fund holds true, and that is, as designed by Michael Cullen, a double-blind system where the government has a hands-off role in appointing the guardians, who are then by law completely independent of government policy. So there is no way any Minister of Finance or any other minister could possibly influence the investment decisions of the fund. Nobody told John Key, because he campaigned on breaking the law. He campaigned on twisting the arms of the guardians so that they would put a certain amount in certain different asset classes. However, in New Zealand, and of course we want to see more stuff going into New Zealand, but that's not the point. The point was, really they needed a law change to do that, and they didn't bring it back to Parliament. Is that governance model still valid? Is it still worthy? Of course it is. Is the aim of the fund, which is to smooth the cost of financing superannuation for our children and our grandchildren, is that aim still valuable? Yes, it is. Is the fund successful? Yes, it is. It's incredibly successful. 19% return over the last few years, 10.5% since inception, more than double the average cost of the government's own borrowing. This is a spectacular success. Sir, I think this debate points us to a deeper truth. Labor does long-sighted change national managers from day to day. So that is why the public of New Zealand say, Mr Chairman,
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
That is why the public of New Zealand say, oh yeah, she'll be right, things are going okay, can have that lot back again. But whenever New Zealand's up against it, whenever New Zealand has challenges to rise to, they vote for a Labour-led government because they know that we have the far-sightedness and the insight to achieve major change for New Zealand. We've done it in foreign policy with the anti-apartheid movement, the anti-nuclear movement. We've done it by carving out an independent role in foreign affairs, which has now seen us appointed to the Security Council. We've seen it. Oh, okay. If they say it happened under a national government, so it did with the Labour Party's support. But we wouldn't be there if we weren't seen as an honest broker. And the reason we're there is because Labour governments from Kirk onwards have championed our independence. But back to the bill, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I knew you were going to drag me back, so I thought I'd get in first, sir.
I was distracted by the humour.
So this superannuation bill, sir, this superannuation bill tells us something very, very important about Labour-led governments. We do change. We do major change that results in New Zealand being better off. What is the problem at the moment? Those clowns, sir, on the government benches have been happy to follow along behind dairy prices, earthquake rebuild and a housing bubble, and they think that's an economic strategy. That makes about as much sense as not paying into the New Zealand Super Fund. It is policy that reinforces old advantage and does nothing to create new advantage and the smart jobs of the future. So we support this bill because this allows the fund to play a greater role in the smart jobs of the future by investing actively in New Zealand businesses. But if they're going to do this, why won't they touch the tax system? Why won't they touch the banking rules so we get more capital where it will do the most good, creating jobs around our regions? Why are they just reinforcing traditional agriculture and giving foreign banks a free rein? Why won't they address the core problems that we all know are hamstringing the New Zealand economy? Well, they either don't have the vision or the courage, sir, to get us there. And New Zealanders, as they see Greece up against the wall, as they see dairy prices going down the toilet, as they see Christchurch starting to stutter, and as they see the Auckland property bubble ready to burst, they are rapidly coming to the conclusion, the feedback we're getting is that it's time for a change. The tipping point is coming. The tipping point is coming. The tipping point is coming. And the same far-sighted courage, sir, that brought a 20% return to the New Zealand Superannuation Fund will be available to future generations of New Zealanders because the same team that bought New Zealand the Super Fund can bring them the next generation of positive policies for the future.